Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing well out there and certainly having a fantastic start to your day and a great week out there so far. Thank y'all for joining me this morning as we try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise for our last day of October. October has been a pretty quiet weather month. Nothing too crazy has happened severe weather-wise, tropics-wise. Winter weather-wise, of course, we've had some snow over the last week, but nothing too crazy or super rare or unusual, really. As areas like Denver, you typically can see snow in October very often, honestly, just about every year, honestly. So, but we do have some weird weather this morning across areas, the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes region. It's not really super rare by any means, but definitely going to be wild as far as timing snow up with Halloween and things like that. As you know, we could have some snow falling on the trick-or-treaters or whatever you got going on this evening. We're waking up to some snow flying around the state of Wisconsin. This is likely going to make its way over the Great Lakes region into the Midwest, the Ohio River Valley, and then eventually into the Northeast if it has any energy left. Behind it, Arctic air will funnel in, and then this will kickstart lake effect snow across the Great Lakes region. So we'll talk about that. There's really two separate cold fronts. One that is continuing to move across the southeast. It seems like we've been talking about this cold front for ages. And then there's another front up here that is reinforcing the cold air across the upper portion of the country. So we'll talk about all this. We'll give you an update on the tropics towards the end of the video. And get you guys on your way for your last day of the month. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I've had to restart this video over about 15 times this morning. So it's been a struggle. So hopefully we can make our way through this video with good information that's described to you guys very clearly. But I do want to mention this. I'm going to do this every time now because unfortunately when people donate to the channel through PayPal or Cash App, I can't always get back to you guys because there's not a way to get back to you guys. I don't have an email to email you folks or a phone number. Of course, I know not everybody wants to get out with their phone number. I totally understand that. I don't like giving out my phone number either, but I'm just going to start naming names that, donate. Of course, if it's a super thanks and you see it in the comments, then that's easy because I can comment right back to you folks. But PayPal and Cash App's a little different. But I just want to say thanks to Elizabeth and Matthew who donated to the channel yesterday. I'm going to start doing that if I cannot reach out to you, individually through these apps. But thank you for donating to the channel, all those things. And thank you for anybody who's donated to the channel in the past. It really means a lot and goes a long way. If you guys got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Let's get rolling here. We got to cut it out with these 3-minute intros, but here we are. So we have the initial front. As you can actually look right here. You see this thin line of clouds? That is the cold front out in the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, it's kind of hard to see, and it's just very wiggly. As you have an embedded low pressure kind of in this cold front, if you will, that's flying across the Carolinas. This will continue to bring a little wave of moisture throughout the deep south into the Carolinas, maybe all the way up into the Delmarva throughout the morning hours. And then we have another cold front that's digging down into this region. This isn't exactly where this is. I mean, it's around where this is. But this is moving in and reinforcing the cold air behind it. And then let's get this back off your screen. You see this spin right here. This is like a little clipper piece of energy right here. This is bringing snow. It's cold enough up here for all this to fall as snow. This will be the most interesting weather by far today, as we will have snow falling on Halloween, the last day of October, and it's definitely going to be pretty wild out there. And it's not just your normal light to moderate, nice falling snow. We could have some snow squalls, some thunder snow, some convective snow. And this could be accompanied by some very strong winds and definitely could affect travel and just anything in general out there. So we'll get this back off your screen. Everybody else is pretty quiet out west. It really is. There's not a whole lot to speak on, but we look at what's going on based off radar. And here it is on the surface. There's the first cold front. You see it here, and it matches up with that kind of a line of clouds that we see out in the Atlantic Ocean. So we know that this is the cold front boundary. The cold front moved through my neck of the woods early this morning, a few hours ago. Dew points are dropping. Temperatures are not that cold, still in the upper 50s right now. But we have this thin layer of much needed rain falling across areas of the deep south, but this is not adding up to much at all, unfortunately. We got some light showers in upper portions of North Carolina, the Delmarva region, but this is the gnarly part right here. Check out this spin of snow falling across Wisconsin this morning. I've seen some videos out of Minnesota of some very heavy snow around the Minneapolis area. It was beautiful. It looked like it was just a heavy kind of nighttime snow falling. I love seeing videos like this, but this will continue to work its way southeastward. It's likely going to bring some wild weather, or an opportunity for some wild weather, across like Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio a little bit later into the period, then eventually into the Northeast. Some of this energy could make it all the way into western PA, West Virginia, dare I say northern Kentucky. So we got some things to talk about across this area for sure. But this cold air behind this is going to be reinforced, basically. It's going to be colder air behind this, and we'll certainly watch as this happens. But you're already waking up to pretty cold temperatures across the Mississippi Valley and the Midwest and areas of the Ohio Valley this morning. I'll show you this just because I think we're going to get an opportunity for some thundersnow off Lake Michigan, even Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario throughout the next 24 hours. Lake Michigan will be definitely kind of in the near term, more so in the next 24 hours, to really watch as we have some lake effect snows. If you don't know much about lake effect snow, it's not super uncommon to get lightning and thunder in lake effect snow. It's very convective in nature. And when you have a fire hose of moisture that fires off these still kind of relatively warm bodies of water that obviously aren't froze over in October, this causes rising of air, and then you have kind of convection that gets going. So I'm definitely going to be watching, and it'll be awesome to see some people get it on video. But for some convective snow bands that really pops off these Great Lakes today, and that's why you have a general risk of thunderstorms. These aren't for thunderstorms with rain falling. These are for thunderstorms of snow. Okay, so pretty wild stuff today. You look at watches and warnings, freeze watches now all the way down into South Alabama and even down into southern areas of Mississippi. In fact, you got freeze warnings, but you got the red flag warnings up. It's just because we have yet another cold front moving through with hardly no rain, unfortunately. So freeze watches, though, extending all the way into central Georgia, most of South Carolina, just about all of North Carolina. You got certain areas, basically the freeze warnings. I'm not going to name every single geographical state here. Freeze warnings are in purple. Freeze watches are in blue. And a lot of these areas in the freeze watches will get upgraded to freeze warnings. But here it comes. This shade of purple is winter weather advisories. I mean, you could probably get some winter weather advisories issued further south here in the next, I would say, coming hours into the next 12 hours. I'm going to get my Google Maps ready for our folks in the Ohio Valley because I want to name some towns and communities. But moving forward here, let's talk about the southeast first. Southeast, pretty quiet weather. The cool air will continue to usher in. Temperatures will be kind of wonky today in the southeast. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But some showers could move through central South Carolina, eastern Georgia, up into North Carolina. Light sprinkles, light shower activity. As we're getting into this evening, you could be dealing with some pesky rain showers up into southeast Virginia, southern Maryland, even up into Delaware. Some rain showers are possible down to the low country of South Carolina. And then behind this, really cold air ushers in. And we could get some snow that falls in these higher elevations, like well above 4,000 feet. And we could get some snowfall accumulation that adds up here, up here in these higher elevations of the Smokies and just the higher elevations of the North Carolina mountains in general. But I really think if you're in Virginia, especially West Virginia, I think you get a few inches of snow in the higher elevations of West Virginia tonight. I think you can even get some snow falling in areas of like eastern West Virginia that isn't as high in elevation. We'll talk more on that here in a second. But for the most part, weather-wise, it's pretty quiet. The temperatures are going to be kind of hard to forecast today, especially in the Carolinas. For certain areas like the Midlands of South Carolina through the Sandhills of North Carolina, tough temperature day. It really is. And but we'll speak on that here in a second again. But the Northeast today, pretty quiet over the next 12 hours, I would say. Some moisture, some energy begins to enter the picture into western areas of New York State, western PA, as we're getting into this afternoon. And I think this could fall some chilly rains, chilly showers, but it could begin to mix with some snow really anywhere here in western New York State. And, as this really cold air gets over these Great Lakes, I really think that you could start to get that lake effect snow beginning to kick off Lake Erie and then even Lake Ontario eventually. But as we're moving deeper into the afternoon to the evening, for anybody doing any kind of activities tonight, you could have snow flying around Ohio. We'll speak more on Ohio here in a second. Make sure we have the Ohio frame up. Nope, we're going to speak more on Ohio in the north central frame. But moisture moving out of Ohio into western PA, and this is when it gets kind of wild here. As we're getting into tonight, we're flipping the calendar from October to November. You're going to be overnight experiencing some lake effect snow, lake enhanced snow on up Interstate, 90 between Cleveland and Erie. You guys could definitely see a few inches of snow tonight, and then we're waking up tomorrow morning with a streamer firing off Lake Erie. We could have some snow as far east as like central and southern sections, maybe even the Binghamton region, some snow falling, some lake effect snow firing off Lake Ontario, and even some snow flying around the Adirondacks, and a chilly rain in New York City as a coastal low tries to make an attempt to throw some moisture back into this cold air. But I really think if you keep this going, if you live in Nova Scotia, you could get some snow off this tomorrow morning and afternoon. We'll watch that. But a little bit closer look at PA today. As we are getting into this afternoon, some snow, maybe even some intense snow starts to develop in northwest PA. It's a tough one to figure out, but as we're getting into about 10, 11 p.m., snow begins to fly around in areas of West Virginia. Pretty much anywhere you could see it, especially central to northern West Virginia. These higher hills and southwest areas of Pennsylvania could begin to see some snow. And really, you stop it here. This is around midnight, 1 a.m. You got some rain trying to mix with snow here in central PA, some snow showers trying to enter the Finger Lakes region, southern tier of New York, and then more of an enhanced snow band firing off just up the road from Cleveland. If you live in the Mentor region, up to Erie, just basically that Interstate 90 corridor from Cleveland up to Erie, especially if you live about 10 to 30 miles right off the lake. Accumulating snow is likely tonight, okay? And then we're waking up to it tomorrow. And then we're going to watch this feature as we're waking up tomorrow morning. Dare I say some snow for like northern New Jersey? Those higher, what is that? I think that's the Poconos. Yeah, Catskills a little bit further north. Poconos. I really think we could see some snow flying around the Poconos tomorrow. We'll see what happens, okay? But we move a little bit further northeast up the road here, and let's go on and get it back to the 06Z model here, and we get this going here, and let's go on and move it back. I think a little bit of moisture could enter the picture as early as about 5 p.m. We could begin to see, just depending on elevation, could be a little bit of snow, could be a little bit of rain. But I think for the most part, this evening is pretty quiet. It's just as we're getting into tonight, into after midnight, we start to see some lake-enhanced snow. And we stop it here. It's about 7 a.m. You're waking up to some light to moderate snow falling in northern New York State potentially. And just off the coastline of Lake Ontario, you can get some snow around the Rochester area, maybe even Syracuse, but Watertown, the Fulton region, certainly some snow flying around, that's for sure. So we look at snowfall accumulations for PA just between now and the next 24 hours. An area of more enhanced snow is possible. Even in the higher elevations of western Maryland, you could see a couple inches of snow, but certainly if you're in these higher elevations of West Virginia, a couple inches of snow is possible. And then these higher elevations of southwest areas of Pennsylvania, and then, of course, right up against the lake. And I would say if you live several miles off the lake, as much as maybe like 15 to 30 miles off the lake, that's where you get kind of away from the shoreline. That's basically, this is the time of the year where if you're really right up against the shoreline, it's probably going to fall more so in the form of a rain-snow mix, cutting down any kind of snowfall totals. You live a little bit off the lake, that's when you have more cold air there. You're not being influenced by the temperatures off the lake, and you are certainly probably going to have accumulating snow. You guys know more than I do, but I'm going to imagine you got to get about 15 to at least 30 miles off the lake to really start to see accumulating snow adding up. Let me know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but of course, one of my goals in life is to experience one of these epic lake effect snow bands. But you get up in the New York State, And yeah, just between now and the next 24 hours, you know, an inch or so of snow, maybe a dusting of snow. You just watch out. We could get a little dusting of snow really anywhere in the southern tier, Finger Lakes region overnight. But if you keep this going into tomorrow, next 48 hours, a little bit more snow is possible. South central U.S., it's a quiet day. It really is. Chilly day, quiet day. We get into tonight. You know, someone said, man, you got to mention South Texas more. And, you know, I'll mention it. Here it is. Southern areas of Texas, could you see some shower activity today? It's very possible as moisture return begins to, well, return. But other than that, the entire south central U.S., very quiet weather. Nothing really to speak on. Now, this is when it gets weird, guys. If we look at what's going on radar right now across Wisconsin, here's that cool spin moving through. These little icons, snowflake icons, these are reports of snow flying around. This is moving closer to Chicago. By the time I'm done with this video, chances are you could have some snow flying around Chicago. But there's some intense snow falling in this spin over Wisconsin, areas of southeast Minnesota, even some snow falling in northeast areas of Iowa. But this will continue to really fully move into areas of northern Illinois, move over the Lake Michigan, probably get enhanced off Lake Michigan, I would imagine. But yeah, this is it's, you know, guys, I love winter weather, so it always makes me smile when we start to see more blue back on the radar. I know that's not for everybody's take, but definitely is mine. But we continue to watch this, right? At the same time, you got two things ongoing. You still got another intense band moving off Lake Superior, affecting these northern counties of the UP and Michigan. This could eventually ooze down into the southern sections. And you stop it here, guys. I want to stop it right here. We have extremely heavy snow falling over Lake Michigan. I mean, you're probably going to have near blizzard conditions over Lake Michigan. If you just happen to be you know, a boat out here on Lake Michigan or ship or whatever, yeah, you're going to have some hard times out here this afternoon, later this morning to this afternoon. But what we watch for is some intense bands that develop and fly through areas of Indiana into Ohio later on today. And then some even more intense bands that fly in behind this afternoon to this evening. And then what we really watch is for an intense area of snow, a streamer that basically flies in from the north to the south and affects the communities here in northwest areas of Indiana and has a sneaky chance to deliver maybe a quick several inches of snow. Now, that is the outlier, but the outlier could happen in this situation. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this, but, you know, to get a closer look at our folks in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, the timing is going to be wild with this. But you know, you're getting into 2, 3 o'clock. You could have some bands of snow flying through South Bend, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Fort Wayne, around, like I said, the 2 or 3 o'clock range. Some more bands flying behind this. And this is a band I want to watch right here. I'll stop at around 5 p.m. This just got done flying through Fort Wayne. It's heading towards the Lima area, about to head into Toledo, almost into Detroit, down to Dayton. This band is making it all the way down south. Guys, could it nip Louisville? It's very possible. Potentially Cincinnati. Now, this is going to move through so fast. I think the most snow it's going to drop is maybe a dusting. But it's going to reduce visibility. I think it's going to catch people by surprise because they're going to look at their weather app and it's probably going to say something like increasing clouds late in the day with a small chance of snow. But this band could catch people by surprise. You could get some lightning and thunder with this. You're definitely going to, at minimum, get some very brief heavy snow and some gusty winds. This is associated with that Arctic front. And then this is going to enter central Ohio, maybe around the 5, 6, 7 p.m. range. Columbus, nasty band of snow moves through. This sweeps through pretty much all of Ohio, just about, could affect the Cleveland area. But what's interesting to me is you folks in Kentucky, central and eastern Kentucky, could we get a band of snow that moves through the Lexington area sometime around 6 or 7 p.m.? Could this reach all the way into the hills of eastern Kentucky? It certainly will affect our neighbors here in West Virginia. You guys are going to get some snow later this evening. But yeah, pretty wild stuff. And then we could just get some more banding of snow behind this afternoon, early this evening into northern Indiana, northern Illinois. Some snow likely going to be flying around the Chicago area here in the next hour or so. And then, you know, just in the southern sections of Michigan, you could get some snow that's really flying around, but it's just going to be very isolated in certain areas, and it's not going to last a super long time. It's just going to be kind of waves of kind of moderate to heavy snow accompanied by some gusty winds. And then what's interesting after this is what forms after this. Are we going to have some intense kind of lake effect snow band that forms and affects areas of northwest sections of Indiana, like the Gary region and surrounding areas? It's very possible. Okay, this is a wild card right here. All this is a wild card. But I will tell you, with this band of snow, this is the most interesting part of this all is the wind. You're going to know this band of snow hits by the winds because it's going to be kind of breezy ahead of this. But when this moves through, I mean, this is around 5 p.m., 4 or 5 p.m. Okay, when this moves through, winds will start to gust to around 20 to 30 miles per hour. The wind chill will drop, and it will get very windy behind this front. So when you look at the wind chills, man, it's already chilly out there right now, right? But, you know, this is wind chills right here. This is wind chills for around, let's see what time this is. This is around, man, what's going on? All right, here we go. This is around 8 p.m. Okay, trick-or-treating, whatever you may be doing out here. All right, wind chills are in the low 20s, maybe even the upper teens in certain areas with some snow flying around. Okay, so, I mean, even Kentucky. I mean, look at the wind chills down in Tennessee. So, wild stuff for sure, guys. And snow with this up in Michigan, Wisconsin. I mean, could Chicago get a quick inch of snow from this? They could, but I'm leaning towards less than that. Milwaukee is very possible. But you get just off the shoreline, not affected by this warm air of Lake Michigan. You guys could certainly get a couple inches of snow in kind of southeast areas of Wisconsin from this. I mean, by the time I'm done with this video, it'll already be snowing. So, you know, it'll kind of be in the present time, obviously, right? You know, a little bit of snow is possible, and well, a few inches of snow is possible in extreme northern sections of Michigan, borderline of Lake Superior, a couple inches of snow, western sections and southwestern sections of Michigan, certainly a few inches of snow from this lake-enhanced moisture. And then we get down here into these states right here, and this is what's interesting to me. This is the ASTRABAR model, right? These little streamers you see right here, this is from the banding that could go through. Could drop a quick 10th, 20th of an inch. 0.2 of an inch is what I meant to say. Maybe a half inch for somebody. But it's really what happens with this band overnight. Could we get several inches of snow off the southern tip of Lake Michigan? It's very possible. You know, ASTRABAR model wants to dump a couple inches of snow on Chicago. It's very possible. It really is. But, you know, you compare this with the National Weather Service forecast. They're going to stay conservative. But they do like 2 to 3 inches of snow off the southern end of Lake Michigan. They do, in northwest Indiana. So we'll watch this. But that's it. Definitely prepare for this. It's going to be some wonky weather. Hard to predict. But I would say, I'd bet $10 we're going to get a pretty intense band of snow that sweeps through Indiana and Ohio, maybe southern areas of Michigan, maybe even Illinois. Throughout the morning and then afternoon hours. So definitely let me know, you know, post some pictures on it, tag me in it on Twitter or Facebook. I would love to see them for sure. Western U.S., guys, not a whole lot to speak on. I think a system will enter the Pacific Northwest, start to bring some rain for our folks out here and Oregon and Washington State. But this is just good old-fashioned rain. Even the higher elevations are struggling for this to be snow. So very quiet weather besides what happens tonight. So expect some rain up here in northern sections of Oregon, western sections of Washington. So temperatures today, very weird day in the southeast where, you know, I think South Carolina will be a wild state where temperatures only in the 50s in the upstate, 60s in the middle of the state, and then you could hit 80 degrees in the low country. But North Carolina, very chilly. Everybody else, very chilly. The Ohio Valley, 30s for highs, Northeast, 30s and 40s, Midwest, 30s for highs, and even a chilly day for Texas, all the way down to Brownsville, Texas. Very, very chilly today. Starting to thaw out. In Montana, your snowpack will begin to melt, especially today, and then you're warming up along the immediate west coast. So, quick update on the tropics, guys. There is a 70% chance for Invest 97L to develop, but those crazy runs from the models have went away. GFS was going wild, but there is a 70% chance to develop. You know, could develop into a depression, could become tropical storm vents. But even in the most aggressive model, the GFS now only has this making it into like a like a strong tropical depression, a weak tropical wave affecting areas of Central America. Doesn't really have that scenario anymore where it has a huge hurricane hitting Cuba and then flirting with the idea of hitting Florida. So that's the good news, but we'll continue to watch it for our neighbors down here in Central America. Guys, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.